What happens when an arrogant 42-year-old billionaire walks into Judge Frank Caprio's courtroom thinking he can buy his way out of any problem? This morning, Marcus Whitfield III waltzed into Providence Municipal Court as if he owned the place, wearing a $15,000 suit and an attitude that cost even more. But when Judge Caprio discovered who was really behind this family's fortune, what happened next became the most viral lesson in humility on the internet. Before we reveal how Judge Caprio dethroned this ego king in a matter of seconds, less than 8% of you watching are actually subscribed. If you believe money can't buy character, hit the subscribe button now. This story is going to spread everywhere, and you don't want to miss what happens next. It's a chilly Tuesday morning at Providence Municipal Court, and Judge Frank Caprio is reviewing the day's cases when something about the name Marcus Whitfield III catches his eye. At 76 years old, Judge Caprio has over 30 years of experience on this bench, but something about this case feels different. He recognizes the surname from somewhere, but he can't quite place it. The courtroom is packed this morning. Lawyers whisper amongst themselves in the front pews, worried families occupy the middle rows, and law students observe everything from the back. There's an energy in the air, a sense that something significant is about to happen. The usual Tuesday morning hubbub seems more intense today. At precisely 9:15, the clerk announces the next case. Marcus Benjamin Whitfield II, 42 years old, accused of driving under the influence, speeding in a school zone, and resisting arrest. Marcus Whitfield III enters the courtroom like Caesar marching to conquer Gaul. A perfectly tailored Armani suit, Italian shoes that cost more than most people's monthly salary, and a Rolex Presidential that gleams under the fluorescent lights like a beacon of arrogance. And that smile, not a nervous or polite smile, but the predatory grin of someone who has never faced real consequences in life. He moves through the courtroom with the confidence of someone who owns everything, greeting his lawyer with a pat on the back, as if he were arriving at a country club. His eyes sweep across the courtroom with barely disguised disdain, as if he were assessing how much it would cost to buy everyone present. When his eyes first meet Judge Caprio's, there's a glimpse of something, not respect but calculation, as if he were measuring his next obstacle. Judge Caprio looks up over his glasses and immediately senses the arrogance radiating from the man in front of him. He's already read the police report twice, driving a McLaren at 120 kilometers per hour in a 30-speed school zone, refusing a breathalyzer test, and then trying to bribe the officer with $50,000 in cash he had in the glove compartment. "Mr. Whitfield," Judge Caprio began, his voice calm but with an authority that held the entire court's attention. "You are charged with driving under the influence of alcohol, speeding in a school zone, and resisting arrest. How do you plead guilty?" Marcus adjusted the French cuffs of his sleeves, a disdainful smile playing on his lips. "Your Honor," he said, his voice laden with the kind of confidence that comes from a lifetime without consequences, "I plead not guilty to all charges. And frankly, I think there has been considerable misunderstanding here." "A misunderstanding?" Judge Caprio repeated, slowly removing his glasses, a sign that any regular in his court would recognize as imminent danger. "Mr. Whitfield, you were driving at 120 kilometers per hour in a school zone. Children were leaving school. Explain this misunderstanding to me." Marcus laughed, not a nervous laugh but a genuine chuckle from someone who found the whole situation absurd. "Judge Caprio, right? Look, I respect what you do here, really I do. But let's be realistic about this. I was late for a board meeting worth over $100 million. Time is money, Your Honor, and frankly, that school zone was completely empty when I walked by." The entire courtroom tensed. Judge Caprio put his glasses back on and leaned forward, his voice gaining an edge that made even Marcus's lawyer swallow hard. "Mr. Whitfield, are you telling me that your business meeting justifies putting children's lives at risk?" "I'm saying there were no children in danger," Marcus retorted, his arrogance growing with each word. "Look, Your Honor, let's cut to the chase here. How much is this going to cost me? 500,000? $1 million? Just tell me the number and we can settle this right now. We all have more important things to do." An absolute silence fell over the courtroom. Even the bailiff seemed shocked by this man's audacity in openly attempting to bribe a judge. Judge Caprio stood perfectly still for a long moment, his eyes never leaving Marcus's face. "Officer Rodriguez," Judge Caprio called calmly, "please read to the court exactly what happened on the afternoon in question." The officer stood up, consulting his report. "Your Honor, at 10:45 p.m. last Thursday, I was positioned outside Lincoln Elementary when I saw a blue McLaren 720S traveling at high speed through a clearly marked school zone. Children were crossing the street with the crossing guard when the defendant passed approximately 50 feet from them at a speed that my radar clocked at 74 miles per hour in a 20 zone." "Continue." Judge Caprio instructed, his eyes still fixed on Marcus, who had stopped smiling. Cuando you pulled o defendant over, il immediately come a screaming about quem él was, how much money he had, y que él could buy and sell me. Cuando you asked para license and registration, il refused y told me you quote, do you know who I am? I own half this city. You're making the biggest mistake of your pathetic little life. Marcus finament perdu a compostura. That's not exactly what I said, officer. You're taking things out of context here. I'm not done. Defendant, Officer Rodriguez continuo. Cuando you informed him you needed to administer a sobriety test debido a smell of alcohol in su vehicle, defendant laughed. He said, I'll give you $50,000 cash right now to forget this ever happened. He then retrieved a briefcase from his trunk containing exactly $50,000 in $100 bills. He placed it in mu vehicle. Judge Caprio stood up slowly, a gesture that made the entire courtroom hold its breath. Cuando Judge Caprio stands during a hearing, it means something important is about to happen. Mr. Whitfield, en mis 32 años neste banco you have seen many things. Poverty, desperation, mistakes born from circumstance. But what I see before me today is something different entirely. Marcus shifted uncomfortably para a primera vez sua confianza, finally showing cracks. Your Honor, I think there's been some miscommunication here. I never meant to. Silence. Judge Caprio commanded, his voice cutting through Marcus's words like a blade. You will speak only when I give you permission. Officer Rodriguez, were there any children present when you conducted this stop? Yes, Your Honor. Mrs. Patterson, a crossing guard, com 20, 3 years of service, foi helping 3 children cross cuando this incident occurred. She's actually here today. E would like to speak. Mrs. Patterson, please approach the bench. A woman in her early 60s, with neatly styled gray hair and wearing an impeccably clean crossing guard uniform, walked forward with dignity. Her hands trembled slightly, but her voice was steady and clear. Your Honor, Ela began, I've been helping children cross that street safely por mais de 2 decades. I've seen cars speed through, I've seen close calls, mas nothing like what I witnessed that day. 3 children, 7-year-old Emma Santos, 8-year-old Michael Chen, 9-year-old Sofia Rodriguez, Officer Rodriguez's own niece, forum walking calm me when est man, Ela pointed at Marcus, flew past us like nunces a ramos invisible. Tears began to well see us ojos. Emma foi so scared que Ela started crying. Michael asked me why the man no caro blue was angry at us. Sofia, sweet little Sofia, Ela asked if she had done something wrong to make homem drive so fast. These babies thought they have somehow caused this man's reckless behavior. Marcus, paro primero time, looked down at his expensive shoes, his face flushing red. Mrs. Patterson continued, but what really broke me heart, Your Honor, was cuando this man got out of his car screaming at Officer Rodriguez. Emma, Michael, Sofia were still dentro earshot. They heard every word. They heard him say que own people, que money could fix anything. Emma asked me afterwards if bad people always had nice cars. Guys, before I tell you what Judge Caprio does next, I need you to do something. In the comments below, tell me where you're watching and if you have children in your live streams. Because this story is about more than just one arrogant man. It's about what we teach the next generation about consequences and accountability. Judge Caprio walked around his bench, something L only does in the most serious moments. Entire courtroom fell silent as Il approached Marcus directly. Mr. Whitfield, Vok mentioned that time is money. You're absolutely right. So let me tell Vok about time money. Il paused, letting his words sink in. Mrs. Patterson spends her time, unpaid overtime, I might add, keeping children safe. Time Quiela could spend calm her own grandchildren, but instead dedicate to protecting outros people's babies. Officer Rodriguez spends his time protecting serving esta community, including sua propria family. Those children, they're spending their time learning que adults can be trusted to keep them safe. Marcus opened his mouth to speak as Judge Caprio raised his hand. I said Vok could speak cuando I give permission. That time hasn't come yet. Now let's talk about money. Judge Caprio continued, his voice growing more intense. You carry $50,000 in cash to bribe police officers. That's more money than Mrs. Patterson makes him a year keeping children safe. It's more than mutus families in this community make him dois years. But here's what Vok don't understand about real value, Mr. Whitfield. Judge Caprio returned to his bench. Maz remained standing. The trust of a child is priceless. The safety of Oma community cannot be bought. The integrity of this courtroom will never be para sale. That's when something extraordinary happened. Judge Caprio opened a file que Ningwam had noticed him retrieve. But before we continue, I want Vox to know that I remember where I know your name from, Mr. Whitfield. Marcus's face went pale. Your Honor, your grandfather, Judge Caprio continued, Samuel Whitfield, sir, used to appear before Mew predecessor in this very courtroom back in 1962. Not as defendant. Mas as a character witness para immigrants facing deportation. Your grandfather, Mr. Whitfield, was a man who understood qua true wealth comes from serving others. Oh, look at Marcus's eyes shifted from arrogance to something closer to shock. He would spend his own money qua he had earned working 16-hour days in Muma factory, helping families stay together. He never missed a court date, never complained about a lost day of work. Pork L understood some things sit down more important than profit. Judge Caprio slowly removed his glasses again. Your grandfather would be ashamed of what Vok could become. Il built his fortune not by stepping on people, mas by lifting them up. Here Vok are using que inheritance to endanger children, insult the very institutions que protected families like yours. Marcus's designer composure crumbled completely. Para primera time since entering a courthouse, L looked like what he really was, a lost, scared man who had confused money worth. Mrs. Patterson, Judge Caprio called. Would Vok please tell a court what happened after Officer Rodriguez completed his arrest? Mrs. Patterson nodded. Well, Your Honor, after Tudo settled down, I took Emma, Michael, Sophia for ice cream. They were still shaken up. But Vok know what? As we walked by where incident happened, Sophia picked up a piece of trash que had fallen from someone's car. She said she wanted to make sure a street was clean para everyone. Even after being frightened by Mr. Whitfield's behavior, Ela was thinking about making things better para outros people. That's o character Vok put at risk, Mr. Whitfield. That innocence, quick kindness, these sit out the real treasures of NASA community. Judge Caprio stood again. Every person in mo courtroom leaned forward. This was a moment everyone had been waiting for. Mr. Whitfield, Vok offered Officer Rodriguez $50,000 to forget this incident. Let me tell Vok what I'm going to do instead. You stow guilty on all charges. I sentence Vok to 60 days in county jail, no possibility of early release. Your license is suspended para 1 year. You will pay a fine of $25,000 plus court costs. Marcus started to object as Judge Caprio wasn't finished. Furthermore, Vok will perform 500 hours of community service as Yuma crossing guard, working alongside Mrs. Patterson. Vok will arrive at 7:30 every morning. He helped children cross safely para an entire school year. That $50,000 Vok tried to use as Yuma bribe. That money is now confiscated. Will be donated to Lincoln Elementary's after-school program. The courtroom erupted applause as Judge Caprio raised his hand para silence. But most importantly, Il continued, his voice now gentle mas firm, Vok will write personal letter of apology to Emma Santos, Michael Chen, Sophia Rodriguez. Not typed by Sue assistant, not written by your lawyer, mas handwritten by Vok. Vok will explain to them key adults are supposed to protect children, not frighten them. Marcus stood there, his world completely transformed in a matter of minutes. Man who had entered a Kando Club money could buy his way out of anything now faced real consequences para primero time in his adult life. Do Vok understand your sentence, Mr. Whitfield? Judge Caprio asked. Para primero time. Marcus's voice was quiet, humble. Yes, Your Honor, I understand. And do Vok have anything to say to Mrs. Patterson to esta community? Marcus turned to face Mrs. Patterson, tears agora flowing freely. Mrs. Patterson, I am so very sorry. I endangered children under your protection. I disrespected you, Officer Rodriguez. I have no excuse para mu behavior. I promise Vox that I will use this time to become a better man. Mrs. Patterson stepped forward. Did something that shocked everyone present. She extended her hand to Marcus. Mr. Whitfield, we all make mistakes. What matters now, what Vok learned from this, how Vok choose to move forward. As they shook hands, Judge Caprio smiled. Para o primero time since hearing began. This what real justice looks like. I'll announce to court. Not vengeance but accountability. Not punishment but learning. Most importantly, not division but community. 6 months later, something beautiful happened nobody in that courtroom could have predicted. Marcus Whitfield III had completed every hour of his community service, working alongside Mrs. Patterson every single day. But more than that, L had discovered something money had never been able to buy: genuine purpose. Every morning at 7:15 Marcus would arrive at Lincoln Elementary, not in his McLaren, mas walking from a nearby coffee shop where L had started buying breakfast para Mrs. Patterson any other crossing guards who were starting their shifts. Il learned the names of every child who crossed his intersection, remembered their favorite subjects. He even started helping kids math homework durante lunch breaks cuando L was allowed. Emma Santos, a little girl who had once cried because of his reckless driving, now ran up to give him high fives every morning. Michael Chen would proudly show Marcus his spelling tests, Sofia Rodriguez had even invited Elle to her birthday party. These children had taught Marcus something quite 30 years of business school never could. Quite true success is measured in lives touched, not dollars accumulated. On his final day as UMA crossing guard, Marcus did something quite surprised everyone. Instead of returning to his corporate empire, Il announced he was establishing UMA Foundation dedicated to school safety and crossing guard support. Every crossing guard in Providence would receive UMA $25,000 annual bonus, funded entirely by Marcus's personal wealth. But perhaps most remarkably, Marcus kept that job as UMA crossing guard. Every morning, Vaught can still find Elle at Lincoln Elementary, helping children cross safely, because Elle learned some work is too important to delegate. Judge Frank Caprio's decision to hold UMA powerful man accountable didn't just change one life, it changed an entire community's understanding of what justice can accomplish quando it's administered both firmness and compassion. It showed real power comes not from what Vaught can buy, mas from what Vaught choose to give. If this story touched you and restored your faith that accountability and compassion can coexist, I need you to do something important. Like this video if you believe that character matters more than cash. Subscribe for more stories that prove justice still exists when it's administered with wisdom and heart. And remember the words Judge Caprio spoke that day, words that now hang in Marcus's office and guide his every decision. True wealth is not measured in what you possess, but in what you contribute to the lives of others.